The wind in the obsidian territory didn't just blow, it judged. It tore through Lyra's thin, scavenged layers and bit at the bone, a relentless predator scenting weakness. For Lyra, every frozen gust felt like a personal sentence from the moon goddess. She shoved a numb, bloodless hand into her pocket, fingering a length of frayed twine, the only thing standing between her family and a white grave. In front of her stood a pathetic, skeletal frame. It was a collection of fallen pine branches and mud freezing into useless clumps. "Stay up," she whispered, her voice a raspy ghost of its former self. "Just stay up for them." She glanced back at the lightning-scarred oak where Ivy and Iris, her twin girls, were huddled. They were small, shivering bundles, their faces pale as frost. They didn't cry. They were too cold for tears. Suddenly, a fierce roar of wind descended. The flimsy lean-to groaned before the main support branch snapped with a sickening crack. The structure collapsed, burying their only blanket in the deep snow. Lyra didn't scream. She simply fell to her knees, digging with raw, bleeding fingers to reach her children. High above on the jagged granite ridge, Alaric Sterling stood as a statue of cold gold and shadow. The Alpha King's nostrils flared, catching the scent of vanilla and rain struggling beneath the stench of wet rot and desperation. Most rogues who trespassed on obsidian land begged or fled, but the woman below him did neither. Through the swirling white curtain of the blizzard, he watched her lash together brittle birch twigs with a precision that bordered on obsession. She was starving, her movements stiff with the onset of hypothermia, yet her eyes, sharp and calculating, never stopped scanning the structural integrity of her pathetic lean-to. Then, the wind roared. With a sickening crack, her support beam shattered, and the world of branches came crashing down upon her. Alaric's wolf paced behind his ribs, sensing the two smaller heartbeats hidden in the hollow of a nearby tree. He waited for the scream, the sob of defeat that usually followed such a loss. It never came. Instead, Lyra fell to her knees and began to dig through the ice with raw, bleeding fingers, her jaw set in a line of iron. She didn't cry. She simply started again. Alaric's eyes glowed a lethal gold. He had seen enough. The test was over. The morning didn't arrive with the sunrise, but with the earth-shaking thunder of heavy engines. Lyra scrambled from the hollow tree, clutching a sharpened stick, her heart hammering against her ribs. She expected enforcers or executioners. Instead, her breath hitched as 6 massive, shirtless men began unloading a flatbed truck that had somehow conquered the frozen logging road. They weren't carrying weapons, they were hoisting massive, aromatic logs of premium red cedar, timber that cost a fortune and was reserved for the mansions of high-ranking alphas. "You're in a flood zone," a deep, gravelly voice rumbled, slicing through the mechanical roar. Alaric Sterling emerged from the shadows of the pines, his shearling coat open to the biting wind. He ignored the shivering rogue and walked straight to the ruin of her lean-to, picking up a piece of the shattered deadwood. His golden eyes locked onto hers with a lethal intensity. "You tried to build a weaver's knot with rotten pine. The work was perfect. The material was garbage." He stepped into her space, his heat radiating like a furnace. "I'm providing the timber and the labor. You provide the design. Show me what you can build when you aren't starving to death." The clearing transformed into a military operation, but as the first cedar pylons were driven into the mud, Lyra's skin began to itch. Her true sight flared, a hyper-awareness of geometry that bled into her vision like glowing veins. "Stop," she cried, the command tearing from her throat before she could check her status as a rogue. 6 massive warriors froze, their gazes shifting from their work to the small woman by the fire. Jax, a brute with arms like oak trunks, scoffed as he prepared to drive a steel pin into the corner joint. "Internal twist," Lyra insisted, stepping forward despite her trembling legs. "The grain on that post is spiraled. If you drive that pin, the core will split. The first heavy snow load will collapse the entire southeast wing." The silence was absolute until Alaric walked to the timber, his large hand tracing the bark. "She's right," he murmured, his voice a low rumble of lethal discovery. There's a hairline fracture beneath the surface. He turned to his men, his golden eyes burning with a new, terrifying intensity. From now on, no one drives a nail until she clears it. She is the architect. You are the labor. As the sun dipped behind the jagged peaks, a sudden wave of vertigo crashed over Lyra. The weeks of starvation and the adrenaline of the build finally took their toll. Her knees buckled, and she tumbled backward off the cedar joist. She didn't hit the frozen earth. Instead, she slammed into a wall of solid muscle and radiating heat. Alaric had moved with predatory speed, catching her effortlessly. Pressed against his chest, Lyra's face pressed into the crook of his neck, and then it hit her. The scent of burning embers and deep, rain-washed earth. It was the scent of home. Alaric stiffened, his entire body turning to stone as the mate bond ignited between them like a wildfire. His golden